are live right now. 5 seconds, guys.
I don't know. It went to a commercial.
And we're live.
Okay.
5 seconds.
There we go. We're on.
Hello. Hello. Welcome back to our Thursday Night Lives. We're doing a little something different today. We are streaming on 3 different platforms. So we're doing our YouTube, we're doing their YouTube and their Facebook page. So bear with us as we try to figure out how to do the comments and things like that, because we do want you to interact with us and tell us what your top 5 homesteading tools would be, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're kind of thinking about doing like a total top 5, but when we got down to it, it was really hard to pick combined top 5 between 4 of us. So we decided to do top 5 per homestead each. They have their necessities that they need for their ranch, and we definitely have ours because we do a little bit more gardening than they do at this point, but they'll get there. So we are, I think we'll just get into it, and I don't know where you want to start. You guys want to start with your top 5 that you must have on your homestead or your ranch?
Go for it.
Sure. So you want to start with? We can start with your number 1 for Jenny, which is Jenny uses there was a Pelican sled toboggan that I had gotten with a snowmobile I purchased years ago, and it's like it can fit a 1 square bill. Kind of, that's the width of it, like width and length, 1 small square bill, and she uses it for just about everything. So I'll let her talk about that. I'm going to be monitoring the comments for the next little bit. It looks like we're working okay. If there's an issue, let us know, but for especially the Facebook.
Actually, I guess maybe before I start, for anyone that's coming on live through the Facebook page and don't know who we are, this is Rob and Jenny, obviously Denby View Ranch, where you're watching if you're live there. But if you're live over on our channel, Plowman's Backyard, this is Jason and I'm Kendra. So we're just 2 different families, 2 different kind of lifestyles in the homesteading genre, and hoping to help you through the transition of coming to living in the country and homesteading or ranching. So that's our goal.
Yep. Yeah, and for our Facebook users that have been following us through our journey, kind of seeing it, it's a good opportunity if you have burning questions that you want to know, or see some of the stuff behind the scenes of who we are. It's kind of a good way to go about it is trying this live through Facebook. So it's the first time we've done it. We don't know how it works, so I guess we're going to find out tonight. Jay and Kendra run an excellent homesteading channel on YouTube. They're just down the road from us, and they're, I would say, they're gardening experts for it. They also
expert in training, maybe. Yeah.
They also do an amazing job on some video content all about chickens, especially the partridge chanticleers, incubators and stuff like that. So they're an excellent resource too. So if you have the availability to, please subscribe to their channel and for more content info. I know a lot of you guys ask us about questions. We know about meat birds. These guys know about laying hens. So anyways, we'll get back to it. It looks like nobody's commented we messed up, so either nobody's on or nobody cares.
Oh, we've got Marilyn on here.
Yes,
Little homestead by the beach is here. Thanks for joining. Oh, she says they are expert.
Good.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Okay, so I guess we'll go back to my
your Pelican toboggan, or I guess that's the way to put it.
And then I kind of grouped, so that's like winter wise. I also grouped our wagon into this because that's what I use in the summertime.
Yep.
So I like a lot of manual labor. Rob not so much. He likes the tractor. So I will tote, whether it's water or food or hay or bedding, like just anything and everything. Firewood.
We do firewood with our sled.
Yeah. So
and wheelbarrow.
all of that gets toted with that sled. Gracie even uses it still as an actual toboggan.
Yeah.
Which is
They
really
work.
funny. Yeah.
We've used it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like totally multi-purpose. We use it for everything. And then same as the wagon. The wagon is like the water to go to the chickens and the feed and that when they're out in the pasture. I think that's what I'm using as a wagon. Gardening, I use a gardening too. Or if I'm doing a fencing project, like within the general vicinity of the barn, like I'll also tote some stuff into that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it works good. That's pretty versatile, and that's really key for us.
and it's cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it is a super cheap option if you're not looking to spend a lot of money into something. Like you can get all these really fancy wheelbarrows and all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We know someone who's bought like these fancy wheelbarrows, and I just go back to the old style wheelbarrow. They're so much easier.
Well, to be honest, it isn't an old style.
Well,
I don't
okay,
think it is.
you still went a little fancy. I just want the one little wheel that goes.
I like the two wheels. So
He
there's
likes
a little
the
bit more
two wheels,
stability.
but-
There you go,
I don't
yeah.
worry about it.
I wish I
Flopping
had
back and
two
forth,
wheels on
I'm just saying.
mine. Ours was a barbecue for a little bit.
it was a barbecue. Yeah.
What was a barbecue?
So there's
The
been
wheel or
there's been a few times in our life where money was a little tight, so we were waiting for junk day one year to go get a barbecue. So we had a fire pit at the place in Petawawa, and the wheelbarrow, I took the tire off and the handles, and I used it as the lid over the fire pit, and that's how we cooked our chicken for barbecue, and we did steaks and a few other things, and
Well, there you go.
and then
We want to see a video on this on your channel, okay?
and
Cooking
then
a chicken in the backyard with your wheelbarrow.
it was pretty funny, yeah. And then a few years later, the same wheelbarrow made it to the next house, and when Jenny got the horse, I stripped it.
Yeah.
I completely stripped the paint off. I cleaned it all up. I fixed the handles and put a new wheel on it and painted it green, and now it's back on the farm.
You've given like a whole new meaning of a wheelbarrow being multi-purpose.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
And I used
Hey, it made a mean oven, let me tell you. But anyway, just say.
there was
Yeah.
even a wheelbarrow here that Morgan had.
Yeah, it's still
and
there.
I used that for the first year quite a bit.
It's a very old wheelbarrow but we used it the
It's
first
toast
year.
now, but-
Well, it needs to just get fixed a bit, but it has a steel wheel. It's that old.
Oh,
Steel
wow.
steel spokes, steel wheel.
Yeah, you thought like a one wheel
Yeah.
like was hard. Try when it's like this. It's like it's
Yeah.
narrow.
Yeah.
And then you usually have one crookedy kind of one
Handle.
handle
Yeah.
is higher
Yeah.
than the other, so you're trying to balance. Yeah, it's quite funny.
But that was kind of our big one that Jenny said, this is one of the
I
things
use it a
that
lot.
she uses a lot. I love watching her use that stuff as she walks past the four-wheeler, a couple tractors, the side-by-side, and goes and grabs that. And then I just think to myself, like, well, okay. But when I do it, I mean, we're lucky enough to have that stuff. But there is times where there's too much snow or it's minus 40. Well, at least, the sleigh is going to pull the wood from the barn up instead of, nothing's going to start some days. So
And that's the other thing. Hannah uses a sled. She brings in wood from the woodshed, and she's able to pull that sled. And
Yeah.
it actually makes life a little easier when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
lugging these big. Let's throw in 2 or 3 bags on
Yeah.
a good, icy day, or even like some nice snow. It just slides.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
Well, and I mean, yeah, it's because I just did that earlier. I did fall earlier because there's so much
ice.
here.
Yeah.
But I was lugging basically 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to
It's,
go
yeah.
all the way back and forth. Like it's
Yeah.
much easier.
It is. Yeah.
So that to me was like a big one on my list.
Yeah, it was something we undervalued until we came to the farm. We're like, these things are really just a simple tool to get, not that expensive, and I think every homestead has a use for them.
It's what we
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the other, I guess for me, my number one is definitely the chainsaw has been a huge benefit to us. We use it for everything. We have cedar trees here, deadfall, firewood. My carpentry is not great, so it all involves chainsaw. So the chainsaw, fix stuff in the barn or whatever, and that's something that I'm not great with chainsaws, and I've gotten a lot better since coming here because I use them all the time. We build our own fence posts out of the cedar that we cut because we could buy fence posts now. I think they're like 16 or 17 bucks a piece, and then you got to go pick them up or truck them in or whatever. Well, we can just go cut small cedars that need to get thinned anyways, I trim them, and then I take the bark off, and we use those for our fence posts. It's basically free with a chainsaw, which is nice. So
Now, I think that if I might be mistaken, but in one of your videos, did you have like a sawmill
mill.
attached?
yeah.
That's-
So we have, and that's, it's pretty versatile. That one there is Alaskan chainsaw mill, so you can mill your own lumber with it. We milled our own lumber for the barn this year because,
Nice.
well, one, lumber was crazy expensive, as everybody knows, and
Yeah.
two, I needed some really weird sizes to match our 200-year-old barn because the beams in there are,
Massive.
they were just cut from timber that was Lord knows how old back then, right? And so some of the beams to match up were like, one was 16 inches wide, and it was a square 16 inches. So I had to cut a 16-inch beam to kind of fix the barn to make it match a little bit. So I couldn't buy that at a store. Like, I mean, I probably could, but not with my money. So there's not enough monopoly money to pay for one of them. So we ended up milling one using the chainsaw, and that attachment is $100.
Oh,
So it's not that expensive. And then Jenny bought me a beam maker to make 2x4 beams, or 2x6s, 2x8s, or whatever you want to do with it. And that was $100 on Amazon too. And it just attaches on the bar, and I was able to mill my own lumber with that as well.
so you can do a lot then.
Yeah.
with chainsaw.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. So that was kind of a big one. We moved to a larger series of saw than a homeowner saw when we came to the farm, just because, I mean, it made a world of difference going that big, because I knew I'd be milling some lumber, and I knew that I'd be cutting my own firewood, and I didn't want, like, I had a tiny little homeowner saw, so I went to a larger size, like what they call a Pro Series. That was a back saver because it takes a lot less effort, and I went to a longer bar, so I didn't have to bend over as far to cut down, and there's that much more power where you don't have to fight the saw through the wood, and it just made it a lot easier for me. Yeah, and a lot faster too. I could cut a lot more wood in a shorter amount of time. Yeah, so that was my number one. Do you guys want to start with your next two,
So
or do you got
I
questions?
want to say, like, I don't know if there's any questions or comments.
Not at the moment.
Hey, Ren. So do you guys have any favorite homesteading tools you want to mention? Just let us know. We can mention them. Maybe it's something that we've forgotten on our list. But I want to say probably for my top one, I would say my tiller.
Yeah.
I could do it by hand with shovel. I think that I have one of those broad forks. Yeah. And I still wouldn't want to be without my tiller.
Yeah, I watched that video. I was pretty jealous. Yeah.
I've tried a lot of tillers, and you know what? That's one thing I'm like, I just don't want to be without. I love having like a beautiful soft soil, and just, I don't know, it makes a world of a difference, and it makes it so fast and quick. Even though I only use it maybe a few times a year, it's well worth the investment for me. Just
what was that tiller like? You purchased that very recently, so that would give us a good number on it.
So we started out, actually, when we first started, we didn't have a tiller. Our neighbor came over and he used his tractor and tilled our garden for the very first time because there wasn't a garden there. So the tractor with the attachment was a blessing because it really gave us a head start.
Yeah.
And then for probably 2 years, 3
2
years,
to 3.
our neighbor on the other side of us offered us to borrow theirs because they use theirs as well. So we used our neighbor's tiller, and that was a big help. And then we trialed a couple, and then we finally just got our own. This
last year?
Yeah, last year we got our own, and it's a Champion. We got it from Canadian Tire. We're really happy with it. It does really well. It starts, right off. I mean, it is brand new, but I like the features on it. It was really simple, and it
didn't look like you were struggling.
That expensive. Like, so we tried. Who was the other one that we had?
It was a Columbia.
Yes, it was the Columbia.
My parents.
And we tried that for a season, and it was really good, but it was so heavy, so heavy and bulky that it was really hard to turn around, and it was massive. It was a great machine.
There are features on that though that I liked compared to our Champion. I'm just saying.
There was some really good features on it. I do agree.
Ours doesn't have reverse, I don't think.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's
Like you
reverse.
reverse, but not reverse time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then, I mean, when we talk about the price comparison, what do you want to say? Like 1,500?
For that for the Colombian one, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. 1,500
And
for
I
that
think
one.
when we bought ours, I believe it was on sale
Yeah.
for $6.99.
699.
Okay,
Ours, the
wow,
one that we
eh?
got.
That's a
So,
huge
I
difference.
mean, there's a few less features, but for the price,
Yeah.
it's a really nice
Yeah.
machine. So far, we really like it. And that's the thing. I go through a couple times with my big gardens, excuse me, and I'm able to get and plant right away, right? So,
Yeah.
and then I love to mix. So I love bringing in compost. I love, adding ash and different amendments to the soil. So it's a great way to just get it all in there. If I had to do that by hand, I'd probably have a much smaller garden. So I think that's my number one. Do you have a number one tool?
So when we were doing the fence for around the garden, we went and borrowed one of our neighbors, kind of like post hoe auger, I think it is. But it's one you would twist rather than put it in.
Oh, a manual auger.
A
Yeah.
manual auger.
Yeah.
It didn't take very long to get through
No.
all those holes.
Yeah.
Even I think we used it recently, even when we fenced the chickens in, didn't we? Or no?
No, because those we borrowed another neighbor's
The
post,
Okay,
T-post, that's right.
which I
Which
think
is that's
another
a really good
good
one to
one,
have
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
but
We-
wasn't on our list.
We have a gas auger, the same kind of thing, and it's pretty, it's done its work for us for sure already. And they're, I think postal auger is good. That's a good one, Jay. You can use it for more than just fence posts too. Putting in barns, using post and beam. Like we have a friend that does all of his stuff. He does with like spruce and whatever, just small chicken coops and small little barns and that. He uses post and beam style, so everything is just a post hole in the ground, and he uses one for that too.
That's one thing when Jason, he purchased actually these. Are they antique? Like they're quite old.
Yeah, so they're old.
Like wooden handles, and it's quite neat. So he actually purchased them off Kijiji or Marketplace.
Marketplace for like $10 each.
Yeah, $10 each, and they come with different sizes, so you don't have to you could, actually have quite a good size hole.
Yeah,
with
now
one of them.
with those tools, I still have to try and figure out how to fix them. Some of them don't want to bite into the dirt, so I might have to either sharpen it or readjust.
Yeah, but for $20,
Yeah, can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong with that. That's
yeah. Our postal auger we did a video on, and it was we bought it on Amazon 2 years ago. It was like 300. So for $20, like that's perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think that's a good one. I could go with that for sure. We both kind of discussed as I guess the third one we can talk about would be a wood splitter. We both think, maybe you don't need one if you're going to use softwood or whatever, you use an axe. But out here we have a lot of elm, birch, maple. We use our wood splitter often, a lot.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time, and it saves your back.
Yeah.
Well, we have two different versions too.
Yeah, we have one that goes on tractor hydraulics. That's homemade, and it's then you have to run the tractor and diesel, so it's more money, but like it'll split anything, that thing.
Super heavy duty,
And then we have a smaller one that's it's another homemade one that it's running a motor from the 60s or 70s on it, and it's small and doesn't use much fuel, but it does a job too, and you can move it around a lot easier. You guys have a nice one. That's pretty neat.
It's a nice one. You want to talk a little bit about the wood splitter?
Yeah, so the wood splitter we have is a 27-ton Champion wood splitter. I forget what the CCs are for it, but we've had it for probably 3 years now and used it for 3 winters.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, 2 winters, sorry. So last year and this year.
True.
And it's still running. Still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
Is yours a stand-up one? Does it stand up too?
So it can also go vertical.
Yeah, that's why.
For anything that you have a large logs, it's best to just do that only for the fact that it'll save your back.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're.
Yeah, I just grunt, twist, and yell, and throw a 100-pound piece of lumber on top of it.
The funny thing with me though is I'm kind of the same way, even with this.
Oh, okay.
vertical thing. I'm like, and I'm just man enough. I just lift it up.
And then I come in at the end of the night and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he would have these
no.
Yeah.
big ones and he puts them on the thing and then I go, he's like, you know, you can stand that up, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Thanks.
He always does that. Like, I'm like, seriously?
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Jenny works the lever because on the one homemade one, he built it for his spouse and him both did the lumber, right? So she would work the handle to make it go back and forth, and then he would put the pieces of wood on, and then she throw them off into the cart.
Yeah.
Well, so it's got to step up. So now I have Jenny using the lever, and I'm trying to get a piece of lumber on. She's not paying attention or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Or
okay.
the one time she went way too far and blew the
line.
blew the line. Just like I'm like, stop, boom. Oh, there's hydraulic fluid everywhere. I'm like, oh my god.
But sometimes it gets locked up on that handle. You know, like homemade Jimmy Rig redneck stuff is like that.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it wasn't going.
That was the first time. So that was like, okay, don't do that again. Put the new line on. We used it for what, an hour, and then
What?
and then she's let it go beyond its like full extent because it's homemade. It was made from an old
no, it pulled back too
cylinder.
far that time. It sucked in too far.
No, it came out. So she popped it past the stopper, so that the rod actually came out of the cylinder. So I had to beat it back in, and it's so that you guys have a nice stuff. We have like
Nice.
old homemade things
Yeah,
that
have you ever-
hardly work.
The other one, you have to literally like double up your hearing protection because it's so loud. I was like,
I welded 2 mufflers on it.
Yeah.
It made no difference.
he's like, well, maybe I put this one and this one together, and I'm just like, okay, well,
Yeah.
just whatever.
Now, have you ever seen those spring assisted manual ones?
It's called a kinetic.
Kinetic?
Yeah.
So before we got our wood splitter, that was the one I was wanting to eventually find or buy or get or build or something at the time. Because there's parts of me where I like just to not have to be relying on gas powered or
Yeah.
electric or whatever. But I couldn't find one for sale, and I'm not much of a welder and stuff like that either. So.
Yeah. I'm not either, but just enough to make it work. Some people built them. I'm just trying to keep them going. Yeah.
So do we have any comments on tools?
So little homestead by the beach says not a tool really, but I would not homestead in the winter if I did not have my Neo's boot. So I'm guessing the neoprene.
Ah, yes.
Boots too.
She
I
was.
thought.
She's like, I don't know if boots is really a tool, but there you
Yes,
go.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Insulated boots.
Yeah, it's waterproof, goes up to the knee, low weights.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know.
So
I wear mine year round.
yes,
And
but yours aren't even insulated. I don't
They
know if
are.
it's
They're good for
insulated.
-40. They're the lightweight ones like she's talking about.
No,
And they're
she's talking
good
about
in the
one
summer.
I have.
Well, yours are mucks. Mine are like cheapo ones, but they
No.
work.
Maybe she'll let us know in the comments.
Neoprene.
Yeah.
Yours aren't neoprene. So Walmart actually in the men's section, they didn't have them in the women's, but they do have them in the men's. They had the identical boots to my muck boots, other than they were like half the price. So that's what I went this year was those.
Have you noticed a difference with them?
No, they're perfectly fine. They're the same.
Really?
I think they're actually a little bit warmer than the other ones, to be honest.
I have
So
I have Actons. They're made in Southern Ontario, and then you get them. I get them at the feed store. I'm on my second pair. Basically, they're good for 2 years, but I wear them so much that Betty, she one of the local people was seen us at a function Jenny was at there for an award, so we got dressed up. She's like, "Oh my god, I didn't even recognize you without your rubber boots on." Yeah.
Yeah, boots are something, I guess.
Well,
Rubber boots, right? Like,
yeah. Even Rob was laughing, or Rob was making fun of me yesterday because I had purchased new rubber boots, but they're only like ankle high. They're actually like marine grade boots or whatever that you're supposed to wear on like ships and stuff like that. So they're more breathable because they're meant for summer weather, and that's what I'm going to use out on the pasture when I'm fencing. Because when you go out to go fence in the morning or do the chickens, there's so much dew on that grass that if you wear running shoes, like good luck. You're just soaked. So I was getting, and my friend last year, her wedding, she was not happy that I had these lovely buck boots, tan lines. Like it was shorts and then buck boots.
Wow.
So because I had to wear them all year round.
Yeah.
Really.
You do, yeah. There's always dew. Like in the middle of summer on the hottest day, doesn't matter. You get wet feet going out in the grass in the morning.
Yeah, and because we do so much fence checking and moving cattle and whatnot, so this year I moved to smaller boots. You made fun of me because of the ticks.
I said you're gonna end up with ticks all over you,
but like we'll see. I'll spray and everything, but really the only reason why I don't wear running shoes is because they get wet.
Yeah.
So the other comments was from Remy, and they say that theirs is the simple shovel.
Yes, and we did kind of talk about it.
We did, yeah.
And it is something that you really can't be without. But yeah.
You know,
shovel is a good one.
It is a good one, but
the type. So it's not even one shovel. You have to have like multiple
different
types because
spade, square.
They all have different applications.
And how hard is it to find a good tool and die maker style stamped steel shovel now? Like,
oh man.
Well, how many have you broke?
So on one boulder, which we have a video out, I'll share a link to that, where I was trying to get this basically big boulder out of her new patched or new garden area. So I was determined, without a tractor and without anything else, to just dig it out with shovels and propping it up with 2x4s and 2x6s. Yeah,
that was a challenge.
So I went through 3 of them, I think.
Yeah,
shovels.
I was without a shovel for quite a while.
I went through 2, I think, this year.
Yeah, we went through 2. We found a good brand. I guess I don't know if it's a brand or a style we like. They're kind of good. They're good for shoveling out, like cleaning the pig, mucking the pig stalls and pig pens, and moving manure around. And even in the garden, they're good. They're light. They're like an aluminum wide square, and they're great for snow. We found them, but we broke a couple of. We tried different ones.
What's the ones that have the pointed
spade?
No, it is spade. Yeah, so I broke 3 of those.
3 this year.
I think I broke 3, and then finally I was at Canadian Tire and I was like looking at them, going, "Well, I could go with another like wooden handle one, or I can go composite." And I was like, "We're gonna try composite this time." Because they get left out and weathered and whatever else. So hopefully that fixes the issue. We'll see. It wasn't much more difference cost wise.
No.
But it made sense. As long as they're on sale, there's not much difference.
On that note too, like simple hand tools are always important, but we didn't really add them in our list, and I think none of us really did.
We never really thought of it as simple.
Just because
the auger that.
I think
we figured that most people would be looking at them as things like,
that and drills and
whatever.
Yeah, because the drills are. Drill's not on our top list, but we use it a lot. So it was really hard to depict what exactly you would. I guess we were thinking bigger. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely those few things. But
speaking of tools.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I don't know. He just dropped something from me that.
A gem?
Yeah.
A fake gem?
Well, the girls are now missing a gem.
And Lily go it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so
these are supposed to be tools.
They're acting like tools.
Yeah. Our catalogs are a tool for us on the farm that we use quite often. I mean, they do a great job with the livestock and moving them around, even that kind of stuff. The problem is this time of year they're starting to drive me insane because they've been in the house most of the winter. They don't have a job in the winter as much because cattle are in the pens and we don't move them a whole lot. And Mo is still just a puppy, but the dogs are good. We talked about that as something we were going to put on the list, but I don't think it's as important as some of the other stuff we had.
Mm-hmm.
Like you guys, I'm been pestering Kendra. I think the incubator is something I really think should be way up on somebody's list.
Yeah, so we did end up putting the incubator on our top 5 list. I was hemming and hawing because, well, right now we're going more towards like broody hens. And last summer we had, I think, 3 hatches by broody hen. And it just saved a lot of work. I didn't have to have like chickens in the house and spend money on bedding and all this stuff. So I like that idea. And I think that's kind of the direction that I want to go more. But it's been, what, 3 years?
So I think we've had chickens, and I think I keep forgetting the numbers, but is it 4 years or 5 years that
5
we've been doing?
chickens?
No, 5 years of having chickens.
Yeah.
4 or 5, yeah. So the first couple of years, we didn't have any broody hens.
No.
So that's why we...
Well, that's the thing. That's part of our discussion last week. We bought birds from Frays, and we did buy, like, you know, the Orpingtons, the barred rocks that were supposed to be heritage, but they never would sit. They never would lay on their eggs and hatch them out. So that's when we decided to go with different type of birds, not from like a commercial hatchery. So we got actually blue lace red Wyandottes, and we got them off of like a local person that raised them. And then we also end up getting the partridge Chanticleers. And both of those breeds are the only hens that have been broody. So I don't know if it says anything for Frays. I know that other people have had good success with barred rocks and Orpingtons. We haven't, but it was a lot easier. So I would still put the incubator on the list because I think for the last 2 to 3 years we've been using the incubator up until this summer. And without that, we would have had to purchase birds for those 3 years. So I would recommend, you know, if you're thinking like a homesteading kind of tool, an incubator is definitely kind of up there on the list because it's saving you a lot of money. As long as you've got like a hen or a rooster, or even if you don't have a rooster, you can find a local farmer to get fertilized eggs from, and you can still, you know, produce your own birds at a fraction of the cost of what you would pay for Frays. Because I know there's the chick, the cost of the chick, then there's the transport fees and different things, delivery fees. And
then there's the issue, you don't get as many choices. If you have an incubator, you can choose I know you guys talking in a homestead sense, but for us as growing meat birds, we didn't have good experience this year, and I would much rather now, looking at, we need to find good stock to start with every year. I'm thinking that might be an option for us as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see, like, once I get my partridge Chanticleers back and going, I'd like to, you know, see for you guys, you know, pushing the grower on them if they would be at some sort of level as your meat birds. I don't know, because we didn't use a lot of grower last year with our roosters. So,
but with an incubator, I'd be able to purchase Chanticleer eggs, do the incubator. We'd be able to select our times of when we want to start our birds. It just opens up all your options to you, where right now we're at the mercy of the feed store, the hatcheries and this and that, where with an incubator, it's all up to you.
I was actually talking to Bella Love is on here. This is my neighbor, Kelly. Thanks for joining, and happy birthdays or birthdays.
Oh, happy birthday.
But she actually was looking into purchasing birds, and she found out that a lot of the businesses or places down south are all out of birds for this spring.
Well, I wouldn't doubt it.
So I'm like, an incubator kind of becomes a must, because if you can't get your birds, then you're without. So, and you, like with the incubator, you can go to a local farmer, you can come, you know, wherever, but it also opens up the avenue. You know, you could do your quail eggs, you could do duck eggs, geese. So you can do anything. And if you're buying through Frays and that, there's I think it's a delivery fee on each separate one, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fees if you want multiple different types of poultry on your farm. So
there is.
And we had issues with, you know, it's the timing is everything.
The timing was the biggest issue. Is that, like, I went to a different hatchery last year just because I couldn't. There's a weird month where they kind of skip a couple weeks. So I don't know if they go on
Yeah.
vacation in the hatcheries or what it is, but and that's actually the time where I want to start ours because we do ours for like 13 plus weeks,
Okay.
whereas everybody else is 8 to 9 weeks. So for them, it's not so bad. They can either go before or after that. But so that made a big difference for us. Or would have made a big difference.
A big time. I think that's a super important tool that that I would love to add to our place, and I think any homestead would be important for them.
Yeah, I think so.
So there's a couple other comments here about different
Tools.
people's tools that they like. So Dave Knight says the old snowmobiles and tractor, the most useful thing on the homestead.
Rob wasn't allowed to put tractor on this list.
No,
Just so you know.
I got voted out.
Sorry, Dave.
And then Bella Love mentions that for them, in the beginning, we used good work boots, a good axe, a good shovel, decent four-wheeler, big pots, warm long underwear, or long johns, pulled logs with a four-wheeler, cut with a chainsaw and split with an axe for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And they also mentioned about there are so many items you can find for free or cheap for your homestead. Just start with what you got and slowly prioritize for next purchases or wants.
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
it's
that's the
same
goal,
thing,
yeah.
right? Like with us, like we're looking at what 6-7 years now, 6 years anyway. And just last year we got our first own tiller. Like we've always kind of
We've had usually always had neighbors
or
that we
borrowing
could go
or
to. And
so that, but that wasn't necessary. Like it was that we could afford it, last year. So you do the extra things and you save up for those big things, and now maybe a tiller's not as much compared to a tractor, but it's still like using what you have. And if you have the ability to borrow, or you can even rent tillers, so you could even go and rent one for a day, but it's not really convenient up here because by the time you rent it a day and you use it, you got to do at least 2 days. So
That's why we got a wood chipper for the tractor. I rented one. It was broke for most of the time. I had to fix it to make it work. It took an hour and a half to go get it, an hour and a half to return it. And I said to Jenny, we need this more than once or twice a year. So when we added it up over 3 years, my chipper just paid for itself.
yeah, exactly.
But the tiller option is excellent. What you guys have is like next level. That's perfect. We have a very tiny one that we added as part of our Ryobi setup. It's just an attachment that goes on our battery powered and gas powered Ryobi products.
Wow.
And it was what was $120 for the little attachment, and it does an okay job. But by the end of that garden tilling, that little patch Jenny did there, like you don't want to look at that thing again. It's not like yours. Like it was bouncing all over, and
So that reminds me of
the Mantis.
I
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
really love the Mantis tiller. It's probably about the same price almost as
It's a
our
little bit
Champion.
more than our Champion, only because we got it on sale.
Yeah. So
But I think the last time I looked at it and I can't even find where to buy it, the Mantis anymore in Canada, at least. But you're looking at about $900 for one that does about a 16-inch path.
but man, did that thing did its job
So
well.
that was the one that we borrowed from another neighbor of ours.
I just wanted to try it
And
out.
that one did only a 9-inch, but it
I think
ate
that's
up.
what
It
ours
ate
is.
up.
Ours is 9-inch. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only issue I've had with it is that the back plates that protects you from rocks and everything else was too close to where the actual,
Yeah, and it
Fire?
catches rocks.
and then it would just collect rocks.
Yes.
And I was hammered to get them out.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's like, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our soil is 90% rock, so it's a good way to start it. But that's kind of our list. Is like that's a great comment that you put on there. Is that you make do with what you have, and then you go from there. That's why when we did this list for us, it was, that next purchase, that when you have the money to put into these things, to put it the right way. Like for us, for me, the chainsaw, a proper sleigh. Like we bought a Pelican sleigh and we've been using it for 5 years, and whatever else, that was worth the money. For you guys, a proper incubator, and for us, we use electric fence, so it's different than you guys, but our electric fencing is not a cheap avenue to go, but you can do it cheaply. It's just we've had bad luck with cheap electric fencing setups. So even now we're running Patriot dual purpose. They're like a box store electric fencers,
Okay.
but they don't do the job. Like we have an old co-op brand electric fencer, and it puts voltage out like you wouldn't believe to keep the line hot. It keeps pigs in, it runs the whole farm off one fencer, where our Patriot ones just don't have that. So for us, electric fence is a key tool, but when you're doing it, you want to make sure you have the funds to buy that
The
good
one.
product.
Yeah, there's certain things where you can definitely go used, and like you basically make it back up in the end. Whereas like some of the stuff has to be brand new, and that is one of those things where you gotta have like the best.
Yeah, big time.
So even like the string itself has to be really good. Like it's part of infrastructure.
We spent, what was it, probably $70 in cheap electric fencing testing tools. And then Jenny bought these things called a boundary blade, and I have a few videos of it. One, I shocked myself while doing the video. That was good because I was looking at the screen, and anyway, there's this 11,000 volt. One of them. But the boundary blade was a really good expense because it was a one-time purchase instead of every 3 to 6 months replacing a cheap one.
Not even 3 to 6 months.
Sometimes they didn't last more than a week.
Like, yeah, the ones that have the little string and then you put the little probe in the ground and then you touch, like that's just too much work. They break all the time and you can't store them properly. Whereas this blade it's literally, it'd be no different than your like knife that you pocket knife. It actually is a pocket knife as well.
Wow.
So it folds out to a knife so you can multi-use it. But it's the same size and that. And you just there's nothing to catch on to anything to break. Like it's the perfect shape.
And it gives a fairly accurate reading of what your voltage is, so you can check it all the way around. But we use electric fence for predator control to keep our livestock in. It keeps the cattle in because their fencing is poor, and we're still rebuilding fencing for cattle and horses and pigs, where we didn't have the infrastructure or the money to do it, but the electric fence was a cheaper option and a faster option to get us there. And then we used it again in the chickens because we said, you know what, this was a good investment. Let's do it for our chickens. So our chickens are on electronet, and we have zero predator loss because it keeps everything out.
Yeah.
And then you also use it for your garden.
The garden too, because we choose to have our garden in that first early growth stage. Jenny does it earlier in the year. We don't have chickens then because we do our meat birds later in the year. So our electronet goes around the garden. It's electrified. It keeps all the rodents out for the most part, like the rabbits and deer and whatever else out of the garden, and piglets at some point. So their electronet is really versatile for us. It's not for everybody, but for what we do, it's a really good purchase, a good value.
So Bella Love was asking Rob if you've had any issues with grounding. So
way to fix that.
So from my previous life, I was an aircraft mechanic in the Air Force, and we did helicopter refueling out in the fields, and you have to have really good grounding rods in any types of conditions. So they taught us a trick to increase your ground to get a better ground. You put 3 stakes in, 4 to 6 inches apart in a triangle, and then you wire all 3 together with a piece of copper wire, like something conductive. That will almost triple or quadruple your reading on your ground. It'll get you that much better of a ground. So that alleviated most of our grounding issues, where a lot of people are running just one ground in a line like that. It doesn't give you the same potential if you put it in a triangle or a square like that, and then wire each to each other and then attach your grounding rod to it. You will definitely solve most of your problems in just about any conditions, because we're almost all rock here. We don't have a great grounding spot, and we move our grounds very, very frequently as we move our whole setup along the pastures.
So PV Mart actually has these grounding rods that are T's. And those are wicked because they're so much easier just to basically twist out good
Yep.
to go, and we keep going from there.
And that's
Nice.
what you guys were doing that time when we moved the cattle.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
untwisting those.
Yeah.
What
And
else
I
did-
used old house wire that I just stripped back to
Copper,
the strip
yeah.
back and just use the copper to wrap it around, and that gives you way better than any of the other stuff. But we've used pieces of the fence to put a ground down. We've used whatever you can to make your ground. It doesn't matter when you put it in that triangle and you get your grounds in the right spot.
Yeah.
That'll solve the
Well,
problem.
so it's still important to make sure that where you're actually placing your ground is like, we will look for shaded areas where there's going to be more water content, or areas where it dips maybe a little bit. You're trying to source areas where it's moist.
Yeah.
Right. So like on a hillside, like good luck.
It's very difficult in a very dry soil. It's really hard to get a good ground.
Yeah. You want like a moist ground, basically.
So not like sand.
No. Yeah.
No. Now, like I said, like if you have no choice at that point, at least try and find a shaded area
Yep.
that stays pretty well shaded, because then at least it's going to retain some level of moisture, and the sun isn't beating down and evaporating that moisture as much as it would in a sunny area. So
Yeah, your fence should be reading between 8 and 10,000 volts. Now, keep in mind, for people that don't have electric fence, it's not 8 and 10,000 volts plus amperage. There's basically no amperage. It just gives you a quick jolt. Yeah. So the fence, if it's reading 6,000 volts, that will not keep a pig in. That will hardly keep chickens in, and don't even bother with the cows. They'll just go right through it. So we use the good fencer early in the year all the time, because it's usually 10,000 volts with a good ground and keep our lines fairly clean. And as soon as the cattle and pigs and chickens get shocked a few times, they just stay away from it. It doesn't even have to be electrified sometimes, and they won't go near that fence.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
so electric fence is a huge tool for us.
Yeah.
In that sense.
You
as well as that proper
boundary blade, yeah,
um,
the tester.
So I don't know.
Do you have a video on that?
Yeah, they're all out. Yeah.
All right, so you have to go check his channel out for those videos.
Yeah. They're just shorts, just quick ones. That most of them, but they're organized pretty well. So
I guess, like, for me, the next kind of tool, I don't know if there's any comments of more tools on there, but considering I did the tiller for the garden, I think my next tool would have to be my pressure canner.
yeah,
Because if I'm growing all this food, I need to have somewhere to put it. And not always do I want to put it in the freezer, right?
Yeah.
So the pressure canner has been really good, because it basically, you can do, like, fruits or vegetables in it, mostly vegetables, beans. You can actually do meats in it too.
Yeah.
So it's great for a lot of things. And I like it because you can actually do your water bath canning in it as well. You just don't, you don't have to put the lid on tight. You don't have to set the pressure to temp. So for me, it does both things without me having to have a water bath canner and a pressure canner. So that's one thing that I think is really important if you're growing as much food as we do. So
We've been avoiding it.
I'm telling you, I was really nervous when I first started out.
you do some water bath canning,
Yeah,
but
so I'll water bath can. Only because I grew up and we did pickles, so I kind of ventured. This last year, I ventured from just doing pickles to we did peaches, and I did some other like after jam. What else? Like relish.
relish.
I did those candied jalapenos.
They were really good.
Those are good. Cowboy candy,
Yeah.
I think it's called.
Yeah, and now we got garlic in the ground, so
Yes.
probably
There
have
you
some
go.
of that's gonna have to go in. Yeah,
So, and I've been watching a lot of videos where they're canning some of the chicken, and I'm kind of like, that might be a good idea.
yeah,
to
Like,
have
I've seen
something-
Saves freezer space.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like our chicken takes up so much space, and then
Yeah.
it takes you so much time to part it out anyways. At that point, I might as well just continue on with the process, and then it's already cooked and good to go.
But
like,
think about, like, the broth and stuff you can can too. Like,
Yeah.
you're using the whole chicken in your
Yeah.
instance, right? So then you pressure can it and put it away for something
yeah,
else.
and see, like, oh yeah, I go through like so many like cubes of broth and everything else because I just
but this was commonplace like 50, 60
I know.
years ago and older. Where now, like, to us it's so foreign. Like I would be like, what do you mean meat in a can downstairs?
I
It's gonna
know.
look so weird. But I've been watching a lot of videos. A lot of these guys that are probably watching us tonight, I've been watching some of how they do it. Like somebody did venison. I don't remember who offhand, but I thought, wow, yeah, like I could put some of my beef into that at the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. And at some point, we're going to sucker you into doing a course on it.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So we all learn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not as. It was really. I was really nervous my first time pressure canning because I had no experience with it, and everyone would always say, "Oh, it's dangerous. Be careful." Meanwhile, like my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, they all used it,
Yeah.
right? And so again, like my neighbor next door, he's like, "You want me to show you how to can?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he brought me over, and it was my first experience. We did beans with him and his wife, and he got his old, pressure canner out, and he just showed me the process, and I'm like, it wasn't that scary. And then, so I started experimenting a little bit more at home and just got comfortable with it. So I definitely think, if you're homesteading and have gardening, even if you're doing like raising meat and stuff, there's a good use for it because I know how fast your freezers must fill up.
Oh,
right?
they do.
We got 4 on the go for the most part. And
And think about if the power goes out. What's your first thing?
a
Get
generator.
that.
And,
So I mean, if it's canned, it's put it in a cold, dark place, and it's good to go.
Well, even for us, apples, we have a pile of apples. Like we had so many surplus apples this year. We would feed them to the pigs, and they would push them to the side of the pen and just refuse to eat them. But I should have canned all of them.
We could have done vinegar.
I know.
Yeah.
Instead of vinegar.
Apple juice.
Yeah.
Like I had
Apple
bought
jelly.
the juicer and
Yeah.
everything. Do it.
Apple pie
Dehydrate-
filling.
even
There's so much you
dehydrated
can do.
apples.
Dehydrate.
I love dehydrated. That goes to my next tool.
Yeah, there we go.
Before we go to the next tool,
Okay.
Dan was mentioning canned moose and deer is a staple on the East Coast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It was big when we were in Labrador. There was a lot like that. But
And moose and
Oh yeah.
And then Bella Love was just mentioning some more tools. So there's the hoe, flashlight, good lanterns, rakes, cast iron pans, wheelbarrow.
Oh, I do.
Oh,
love
I
my
love-
cast iron pan.
we
Yeah.
love cast iron too. That's
Yeah. I just did my kettle that's on my stove kettle. I just put it through the treatment in the oven or whatever, and the cast iron is definitely good. We're moving away from it, and that could be a whole nother discussion on how great cast iron is, because there's nothing worse than looking at pots and pans that are full of Teflon and everything else, and you're just
Oh, I
wondering,
know.
like, you're ingesting that stuff, you know?
Well, you have a great story about how you got some cast iron. I'm telling you, don't discredit
Okay.
old cast iron.
Yeah. So I love the dump. Okay. Because and there's ways to do it, but like our dump actually allows us to repurpose items and encourages it, which is really nice.
Oh.
And
His name's California Gary.
Yeah.
That's he's our dump guy, and he's
there's
awesome.
Some bribery involved.
Yeah.
It usually involves empties.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, like I don't drink really, but we have an Airbnb and we get tons of empties. So he gets all my empties, and in exchange, I get to kind of pick through the metal pile. And there was 2 beautifully large, and large ones are hard to find too.
They are hard to find.
Cast iron pans.
And they're expensive.
And
They are.
I looked at them too, and I'm like, they don't even look that bad. Like they look like they're pretty seasoned. So I just washed it out quick and gave it a try, and they were already pre-seasoned. I'm like, why is somebody getting rid of this?
He's so good. Our dump guy, like he grew up in California. He's very much like into recycling and repurposing. And there's so many people that just throw good stuff out. He'll put it aside, and he knows everybody in the community. He knows who's looking for what, and he really does recycle it that way, which is nice. But the cast iron stuff, he always gives Jenny a show, like, yeah, I've got this or whatever else. And
there's certain things like that, if there's like old chairs I can repurpose, or a hutch or something like that. Like I do like a lot of the chalk painting stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have much here, ironically, but at the house I did. But yeah, it's just don't discount a good old dump, because you can find some really, really good finds.
Yeah.
And you just have to be aware of it. And it works out well for us because we're in cottage country, so a lot of the people from the city are redoing these cottages, and they're just basically throwing it all out.
Oh, she brought home hedge trimmers, weed eaters, chainsaws, all kinds of stuff that like
Gas cans are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Someone was throwing out the bumpers for their dock, and there was nothing wrong with them. So I took the bumpers for the dock. Like, I'm sure you know how much those things are.
They're not cheap.
they're expensive.
Right? And it was like a full set. I was like,
Wow.
perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found some really, really neat items.
But you can bring an old cast iron pot back to life. Like,
Yeah,
if
like-
it's
yeah.
kind of rusted up, you know.
as
like-
long as it doesn't have a hole in it, you're literally like you can fix
Yeah.
it.
Just cook around the hole.
Yeah. I have a friend. I have a friend who that's his hobby in Petawawa now. He lives in Petawawa. His name's James Weeb, and James, his hobby is redoing old cast iron. And he's got a lot of people that are bringing him stuff because it takes a certain skill to figure out how to blacken them just right and get them back up and put the season to them. But yeah, he's doing it a lot, and there's a lot of people that are going that route.
I would like to get myself one of those big pots. the
Oh,
cast
yeah,
iron,
yeah.
those not like huge, but like one that I can put on the wood stove. Like I would.
Kind of like a Dutch oven.
A Dutch oven, yeah.
Dutch oven, yeah.
Or the
We
ones
have
that
but
small
not.
one,
We
but
have one
I
that's.
think you're thinking
I'm
more that's a little
deeper.
taller or
Yeah.
deeper,
So you
Yeah.
get the ones that hang off of the
Yeah.
what's that called? That goes above a
Oh,
fire, an open fire.
Oh, they call it a campfire cauldron.
Cauldron, yeah.
A campfire cauldron, yeah. But
That would be pretty neat.
yeah,
I'd love to cook outside on the fire. Like that would be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
well.
Is there any more
Yeah.
before I get into my next one?
Bella Lowe was just saying, yes, Jenny, I've always loved the dump. My dad used to look after it, and as kids, we loved finding new to us goodies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Dana mentioned
Now the dump that you guys.
it's a different
use,
dump. Yeah.
Different one, yeah.
Doesn't let you actually do that.
No, we
Ironically.
No.
have to get written consent, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that's why I don't use that.
And it
one.
takes a while to get through. Yeah. Dan also mentions that they have met California Gary years ago. Quite the dude.
yeah.
It's such a small world.
Yeah.
Like Dana, like so we posted this or he. I'm sorry, I don't know. I think it's a he. Let us know. I don't want to say it wrong or offend you. So, anyways, we posted this picture like our first year doing YouTube. I think it was a picture. It was a video, a short
Video.
of us driving somewhere. And Dana was like, I know exactly where you are. And I'm like, how does she know or he know that? Right. And then now like Dana's on here. And then we went to the East Coast and we posted some videos on Miramichi and where we went. And Dana again
Mentioned
commented,
hunting and
yeah, we
fishing in
like
that area.
Dana has been there or something. I'm like, wow, it's such a small world. And now we
So-
mentioned,
For your information.
I'm a guy.
he's a guy. All right.
thank you. I'm sorry.
I think the skull, for the most part, would probably.
Well, I
be
didn't.
wrong,
I
but-
don't know.
You
Okay,
never
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah, you never
Even so. Thank you. I'll call you a guy.
know. I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
Oh my
It's
God.
nice to know who I'm talking
No,
to.
I know. I totally get it. It's one of those things.
I'm sorry.
That's
This is me,
I think
okay?
he's actually met him,
If
too.
we don't see him commenting next week, we don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm like, oh, it's all my fault. I'm glad you're here.
We-
Don't leave, please.
we've got so many friends too that have joined our YouTube, but they don't tell me their name on
Well, I know
YouTube.
it's hard,
And then
yeah.
they'll like throw me comments or messages, and I'm like, "Wow, that was really rude." And then they're like, "Hey, did you get my comment on YouTube?" And I'm like, "Why would you name yourself Spunky whatever?" I'm like, "I don't know what that is." Yeah, but you know that. So I find the names are hard to catch. But yeah,
It's hard.
Oh goodness. Yes. All right.
Did we go on to that?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
talked
so
about
we got to
it.
talk about
So-
your last one is really important. So I think
Well, I think there's still a couple.
What are you thinking?
she's got her next one that I think is important for her to go through.
What is my next one?
Yeah, what is the next one?
You were going to go into, you talked about your tiller, and now you're going into the pressure canner, right?
I
So
just did that.
we're over the pressure canner already?
Yes.
Oh, I'm lost. I'm trying to follow the Facebook page.
Okay, we're moving on to
Dehydrator.
Oh, the dehydrator.
Yes, which I also.
I thought we already did that. Okay, never mind. I messed up. Yeah.
Remember we talked about stews and meats.
Right,
and
yeah.
That was the pressure.
I think it was
canner.
because the whole time we were talking about that, I was thinking about, yeah, dehydrator. We use that for everything. But anyway, yeah, go.
Yeah. So my next tool is the
Rob doesn't use that
dehydrator.
for everything.
No, I was unsure if we should do the dehydrator because technically we can use the oven, but the dehydrator is so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can put a lot more in it. So I have found some years I actually use a dehydrator more than I do the canner. And for that reason, like I'm
Well, what are you actually using?
what do you
Like,
mean?
what?
My dehydrator?
What are you
Do you dehydrate like
Okay.
vegetables, or what do you?
So I'm doing my herbs. So I do a lot of herbs.
Yeah.
I can do a lot of like different types of wildflowers for teas.
Yes, I did.
You do your rose hips.
Yeah.
You can do.
Fruits.
You can literally. I haven't done it, but I'm going to do it this year. So watch for video. I wanted to start getting the burdock, and I want to take the root because
The root?
burdock root
Hey, you
tea
come
is really
over.
good.
Come take them.
I've got a lot. I've got my own. I'm doing my own first.
I tried to get the pigs to do it first, and even they refuse to do it because
Oh.
it's so difficult
There's so many.
to get them out.
But the burdock root is
It's very good for
super
you.
healthy.
Sure,
So
you say that, but none of the animals want to touch it,
It's
so
the root,
it can't be that good.
the
Yeah.
root.
I know. I don't.
Well,
I,
maybe the pigs would.
The
well,
pigs
this is
didn't touch
why-
it.
This is what made me question it. Is because the pigs didn't actually touch it.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do. You dehydrate it. Apparently you
Put it
can
in tea or
put
you
it in
can-
tea and stuff like
You
that.
could
So
grind it.
I do a lot of herbs and teas, but also I dehydrate a lot of tomatoes.
Okay.
I
yeah.
have found that I use so much space canning tomatoes, but if I dehydrate them, they take up so much less space. If I want to make a nice thick sauce, throw some tomatoes in. If I want to make a paste, you can dehydrate it, put it in a powder, mix it with water, bring a paste up. Like it saves so much time with that. I do a lot of fruit, mangoes, the strawberries, apples, dehydrate them. They're good. You can use them in cereals or like oatmeals, anything like that.
Mhm.
And then another thing, what was the other thing I was going to say? There's just so much with the dehydrator. I did peppers last year. I actually went to the store. They had like $7.99 for like the boxes of peppers.
Oh,
the
yeah.
red
Oh,
shepherd
yes.
Yep.
peppers. And I haven't done really well with peppers at our place. They're usually green and they're not small, but I like the big shepherd peppers. I think we got like 2 or 3 boxes. I
bet they
dehydrated
are.
them. Man. So I've always frozen my peppers so that I can add them to my soups.
Mhm, me too.
I even make like my own salad dressings because I can't have dairy. So I put that in.
You can't have dairy
You can't
either.
have dairy. No,
I didn't know that.
no, I can't. Anyway,
Me either.
so anyways, I make a lot of my own salad dressings. So a lot of the dehydrated stuff I'm actually like throwing in my salad dressings. And so I did a whole bunch of peppers. I have like 3 or 4 mason jars that was like actually 3 big boxes of peppers. I threw them in something the other day in soup. It just came right back.
to
As
life,
it was perfect. It was awesome.
the squash soup.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Squash soup.
And then you break it down into a powder. You can add it as like a seasoning even for your chicken. Like you can do so much with a dehydrator. My next thing though, I would like to get one of those
I was
freeze
gonna say,
dryers.
this
That's
brings
like
us into- can
I
you
know
imagine
that's that would be
what
my
a
top of what I
freeze
want.
dryer would be like.
Yes.
Before we
So-
go to that, we can talk about our use for dehydrator, because even
Yeah, so ours is a little bit different because you're a vegetarian. We're very much meat eaters.
yeah.
Ours is jerky.
Oh man, we make a lot of jerky.
like
Really?
a
Like-
lot of jerky.
It's especially like you get that.
Enough that I have 2 dehydrated.
Yeah.
Going.
And my dad will start like he makes a pile of it, but there's parts of the beef that like
Or just
are
not.
tough, or we don't really like that part of the roast or
Inside
whatever.
outside rounds are
Yeah.
just they're really hard to utilize properly.
So we do a meat slicer. We have a meat slicer. We slice it thin. Jenny sauces it and whatever. She made a whole bunch of different ones this year, but teriyaki is like the staple for us.
Oh, I did a
We
barbecue
throw
one.
the barbecue one was good too. We throw it in the dehydrator. It stays for a super long time after that. Like you can keep it for a while.
We still keep ours in the fridge, but
Yeah.
I mean, technically you could.
Yeah, but it definitely is like that's great, especially when you just like you're going out for the day or whatever, and you need a quick snack, like to make use of something that we don't really we don't like that part of the beef, it's good for us. We do
Well, I'm
a lot.
telling you, I went to Bulk Barn this week. Went to
This
Bulk
week,
Barn
yeah.
this week. He wanted summer savory again.
Mm,
I don't know if
summer
Marlene's
savory.
still here, but she gave me some seeds last year from the Canadian Seed Challenge. Anyways, it was like $8 or $9 for like this little teeny scoop.
For a kilogram, I think it was about
$90
or
a
something
kilogram.
like that.
And you're-
Wow,
And
So I'm
your
like,
mom
I
threw
grow it.
we're growing the wrong stuff.
I'm telling
Like-
you.
My mom asked me if I wanted some, and I was like, this year, and I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I have enough. Like, I don't need all that stuff. And she threw a bunch of it out because
Yeah.
there was too much.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
Kendra was mentioning about the burdock, the roots. Anyways, when you dry it up, I was just looking on Amazon. And they want $20 for 100 grams
Yeah.
of that stuff.
I'm making
Let's get digging
dehydrators,
because
all
I've
this. That's where the money's
yeah,
at.
that's where it is.
Forget the cattle.
Yeah.
No, I'm
We'll
joking.
be digging for gold.
Next
No,
thing you know,
like-
we're going to be doing, you can do cattails.
Yeah,
There's
too.
a lot you can
They
do with
taste like
that.
potato, apparently.
the root itself.
Yeah.
I've seen another YouTuber make spaghetti
Out of the.
noodles out of
Yeah.
out of it. Yeah. So we have Minu Acres. Welcome to the live.
Hey.
So she was mentioning, or Mike or Angie was mentioning that they have done tomato powder, fruit roll-ups, beef jerky, and that they love their dehydrator.
Oh yeah.
You can
She's got a
also
nice
do
dehydrator.
instant squash or instant potatoes, which are awesome.
That's
too.
something I want to try.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
instant potatoes. We're not an instant potato person, but I've tried pressure canning potatoes. They're okay. They do get soft.
Okay.
Then we don't really have a great place to store potatoes. So they either are
Yeah.
good for seed or they go bad. But dehydrating them might be a way to go.
Yeah.
Dehydrate them into a powder and then. Anyways,
So-
I'm kind of excited. That's kind of something I want to try to do this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
We're gonna do
It would be a
some.
really good thickener, too.
Oh yeah.
Is there, okay, so I might be crazy, but at one point there was this weird cornstarch shortage that like I couldn't find
No.
cornstarch
Get. Come on.
earlier this summer. I don't know if you noticed that.
I don't think I did.
It's
Let's
the,
go.
the
Mo.
stuff that comes in the yellow
Yeah,
container
yeah.
with blue. Yeah.
Mo.
It took me like multiple stores
Please.
to find it.
Wow.
And then I don't know what it was. It was a short shortage, but there was some that were missing. Remember I went
There's a lot of
talking to
other
one lady.
thickeners you can use in place of
But yeah,
cornstarch. So yeah.
It's just I'm just thinking like, well, that would be kind of a cool little thickener for your soups or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Dana was mentioning that they want to have a dehydrator sometime, and that they're going to be making a smoker in the spring from an old hot water tank.
So
Cool.
Dana, I'll get you a video next time I get to my hunt camp of my dad's homemade smoker.
Things not to do on one, but the rest of it's good.
Yeah, that was good. My old man's awesome. But
Do a couple things.
he built a cold smoker. So if you're gonna go with a cold smoker, me and him, my dad's a butcher, and he has been for ever and ever and ever and ever. He's kind of semi-retired out of it now, but he's excellent at what he does. And we made homemade sausage all the time. We do it every year. I've done it as long as I can remember. And we used to do simple smokers, like over barbecues. We used old steel barrel drums to make smokers. I've seen hot water tank stuff done. My dad has now built a cold smoker. So I'll do a video just for you next time I get to the camp to show you how we did it with using the firebox on one side, piping it underground into like a little smoke shed. It looks like, a 4x4 little shed.
It literally looks like an outhouse.
Yeah, and you open the door and all the racks are in there and the tin, and he'll do hundreds and hundreds of pounds of sausage in that thing in a weekend. He goes up to the
Wow.
camp, starts the smoker up, and that's a phenomenal way to do it, especially if you want to add that flavor in. There's a lot of stuff on that, so I'll make one for you next time, Dana.
Yeah.
And then Bella Love asks, what kind of dehydrator and meat slicer would you just recommend?
We bought by price.
No.
Don't buy what we have; they're cheap.
I think we got them used or off someone. We have
They were
purple
very
ones,
cheap, yeah.
and they're
That's
they're,
Yeah,
no.
I
that's
don't
what we have
recommend
too,
that
yeah.
one.
No.
So I'm
Or at least the
looking-
ones that just have a plastic trays for the dehydrator.
They're
part.
horrible to
They-
clean.
They're terrible.
It's only that, and the ones
They're
that we have,
brittle.
they end up, they're brittle.
They're garbage.
Yeah.
Don't do what we did.
So-
my dad just bought that
He went
cabinet
to
one.
Cabela's one.
Yes.
Very nice.
I
and
have a video coming out.
it
with
was
it in there.
it is
It's
on
awesome.
sale. It's on sale. He just bought it out there every couple of months. It goes on sale, and really
It's
nice.
worth the money.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you want the trays that are like a mesh almost, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
Is that what's in there? You don't want plastic.
Yeah, I was gonna say they
So
have
they
two at
have-
the Bass Pro Shop
Yeah.
that we were looking at.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, there's one that had the plastic, and I'm like, oh, that's what I want. But then I came across the stainless
They said
steel.
the well, it was a mesh.
Was
I
it-
don't know if it was stainless steel.
So what
but it
is
was a
that one
mesh.
that we looked at then?
I think it's a.
Are you talking
I think
about the
it's
one
a
on
mesh.
Amazon?
Maybe
There's
there's another one.
Magic Mill. That's the one that.
That's so
Mike and
Mike
Angie
and
have.
Angie
Yeah.
had the magic.
And that
Mill.
one has the stainless steel.
Awesome. Yes.
um,
So
tray.
you want to get one that's like a little
Basically square,
cabinet.
yeah.
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 And I mean, there's the Excalibur, which is okay, and a lot of people recommend it, but it's got the plastic trays, and I'm like, I don't want plastic trays.
Yeah.
But the one from Bass Pro Shop, the
They
tray
were
was
thick.
much thicker, so
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think it'll break down as
I
easily.
did
It's
really like
totally
that
different plastic than
It
what
is different,
what we
yeah.
have.
That's a
We
good one.
for meat
Yeah.
slicer, they seem to be all very similar. Like my dad's and my mom and dad's is a lot higher quality than what we have, but it's the same basic design principle. They're all almost the same. The only thing that you want to look at is theirs is a toolless disassembly, so you don't need a tool to take it apart. Mine requires screwdrivers and some tools, and you have to completely strip
They
these
need
things
to
and
be-
clean them
yes.
properly before you put them away. So when you're buying one, take it, disassemble it, or watch a YouTube video on somebody disassembling it for cleaning, and pick one that is easy to clean, because ours is not. Like, I have to completely tear it apart.
Ours is just a cheapie that
Yeah.
come from
Canadian Tire
PV
or-
Mart,
PV Mart, yeah.
whenever they're on sale. So I mean, it works. It's
Oh, it works great.
and like a lot of that comes down to the temperature of your meat as well.
Yeah.
So you want something that's like basically like partially frozen. Makes it a lot easier to cut. Thinner, unless you're going thick, then it doesn't really matter too much. But
Yeah, if you're gonna do like shaved, it has to be partially frozen.
yeah,
Okay.
that makes a difference.
Dana mentions on the food preserving side, we use a vacuum sealer quite often,
Yeah.
and we
use
love
it.
ours. We use it for pretty much everything.
Everything. Yeah.
When we were having those pantry moths. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this.
Yeah.
Anyways, the vacuum sealer was our friend because we
Oh,
ended up
man.
just taking all of our grains and our flour and everything else,
So I
vacuum
Everything.
sealing
I
them.
just got one. And I think it was mostly because I was gonna try and use it for the chickens to
Yeah.
see what the difference was, just for our course, really. But otherwise, I honestly just use a Ziploc bag and water. Your aunt taught me that.
Yeah, but I mean,
we did that.
it,
for a
it
while.
it'll work okay, but you got to eat it quicker. It's gonna get freezer burned if
Yeah.
not, right?
But I also
Yeah.
double wrap things and whatnot too.
Mm.
So
So I always like I used to start out putting like all my vegetables and fruits in little bags in another Ziploc bag in a bigger
Yeah.
Ziploc.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now with this
Vacuum sealer.
vacuum sealer, thank you. I don't need to do that. Like it's amazing. You can even take an avocado, and we all know how fast they go, and vacuum seal it, and it stays green and fresh in the fridge for quite a
Yeah.
while. We actually vacuum
Oh.
seal.
Although we've done an experiment with the lettuce, which you were going to do a video last
Yeah,
year.
we
but
never
you-
had-
we didn't.
We took lettuce from the store,
yeah.
and what I usually do as soon as I bring my lettuce home is I get it out, I wrap it in paper towel, put it in Ziploc bags. I can get a week to 2 weeks out of something like lettuce. It lasts forever.
Huh.
We actually vacuum sealed some lettuce just to see how well it did. We took like those package of 3 lettuce, put them in a vacuum sealer. They lasted, I want to say 3-4
I thought-
weeks.
Well, I was going to say,
Like not even a hint of any coloring on it. Still
Yeah.
green.
Interesting.
I was like,
I thought it was the
wow.
other way around, where
No.
that one lasted for about 3 weeks, maybe, but then your other Ziploc with the paper or the paper towel around it lasted just as long.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
So
Well, we'll
what?
ha- we'll have
so
to-
what it
We'll have to
was?
do it, though,
So the
again.
difference was, I'll tell you what it was. The difference was the vacuum sealer.
The slimy.
It cracked. You know how
Mm.
when you crack it, it creates moisture,
That's
The
what it
ribs.
was.
and it can. So you don't want to like completely vacuum seal it into
You
like
have to
this
have
little
the ones
piece.
that do the pulse.
Yeah, it's got to be like
Yeah, we had the regular bag.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the problem with that was that it was just too
Squished.
crushed and caused too much moisture, and that's why I would wrap my lettuce in paper towel when I put it in a Ziploc bag. It saves a lot of hassle. But yes, we did find that it did work really well, but you don't want to completely vacuum seal it. But I never end up finishing.
Yeah,
that
we'll have to
video.
do that this year though.
Yeah, just a comparison
experiment,
because
yeah.
I really do like the vacuum sealer. Even like when we store our beans, everything now. I actually watched a video just a couple days ago of a lady that on YouTube that vacuum seals her seeds, her fruits, like her vegetable seeds for her garden.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I might want to experiment with that because she said that it would like last longer that way as well. So
And the moths and stuff can't get into
Yeah.
it
That's
either.
true.
Yeah, we would love to see, like we get our beef butchered that goes for sale elsewhere. I'd love to see them start vacuum sealing the product, but nobody's doing it except for one guy in Quebec, and I can't take my beef to Quebec and get it done there because I can't sell it in Ontario. So unfortunately, everybody's butcher wrap, which is fine. I love butcher wrap paper. That's fine. We're good with it because we know how to wrap it properly. I mean, Dad beat you over the head if you didn't do it right. The whole time as a kid, kind of thing. Yeah, Jenny's been in trouble a few times, so we're okay with that. We figured it out now, right? You know, after
Lots of tape.
yeah, so lots of tape, and wrap it right, and you're okay. But when you sell it to customers, it'd be nice to see a vacuum seal so that you can actually see what you're getting, because not everybody knows all the cuts by heart or whatever else. But I think in today's day and age, vacuum sealing is definitely the way to go. I mean, butcher paper is good in a sense for the meats, but vacuum sealing out is how it is. And for our chickens, well, we show your video that you took doing it with us. It's a type of vacuum seal just
It
like
is.
that, and
I
it
was
works
That
great.
was pretty cool too.
it is cool.
Yeah.
The shrink wrap, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very neat.
We use vacuum seal bags to when we butcher our chickens, and we just dip it in the water and shrink wrap bags. There we go. But it's the same idea.
It is. It like
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was really shocked at how well that worked.
It worked great, and it's
Yeah, it
quick.
did.
Yeah.
It
I
is
know. And it depends on what kind.
Yeah. Don't buy.
Don't buy the cheap ones. Don't buy the Amazon ones because
They're no good.
they're no good.
Yeah. That was I was like, what are we putting in this? Quail? Like Jenny ordered them on Amazon.
No,
They're this
those are
big.
the other
They're
ones.
too small. No good for
The
nothing.
other ones
Anyway.
were too small that I bought
Yeah.
because I had a mess up last year with bags. But
Yeah, that was funny. We opened them up, and I'm like, what are we gonna do with this? Like, we've got 65 chickens that need to go in these things. Like, we made it work, but
that part is
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Mellow Love mentioned that they're still learning, but we've always used butcher paper with a hot iron to seal just for a couple seconds. I don't know if you
Hot
said
Oh,
that
weird.
or not.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
I've seen butcher paper messed up a lot. Like, buddy of ours the first year, I won't say anything who they are, but they brought some deer meat that they did or whatever, and they had the wax on the wrong side, and it was just, oh my god. But anyways, it's
but I don't think it's actually. I didn't think it was actually wax. I
It's
thought
not.
it was just a plastic.
it's pretty well is, but you need to have it on the right way for it to work
Oh, I know,
work
but
properly,
I'm
right?
wondering how that works for the iron because
I don't know.
I am going to play with that now. Thank you. I'm going to try that out because I'm curious
Yeah.
how that works.
And tape, like tape, you got to use the right tape. If you
Yeah,
use the
or
wrong
else
tape,
it'll
it's not going to stay. Yeah.
So, other than
Do you
that,
have any other?
I think that's it. I mean, the biggest thing, I think I didn't really do a great job on the chainsaws. Just mentioning, if you are going to buy a chainsaw and you are going to spend the money, go to a Pro Series saw. Don't buy a homeowner saw. They will not get you far enough. That's all. Yeah. That's all I think I missed for tools.
Oh, okay. The only other thing I want to mention, you guys mentioned a lot of Champion products.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're not
So-
sponsored.
We're not
No.
sponsored.
No.
Sponsored by
No,
them.
but what I want to say,
We're open to it though.
That is true. We are open.
and this is going to be a really good story. I'm sorry, Yamaha. Not
Oof.
for it. But Rob can tell you about a story about our generators and how we went back to a Champion.
Yeah, so we had issues. We thought we had issues with a Gen Link at our other home for a generator, and we had a Champion there. Just a cheap, at the time, I think it was a Canadian Tire Champion generator, 9,000 watt. It's old, like what is it, probably 15 years at least. It's an old Champion, and it was, we had issues with the GenLink not working. So the GenLink people told me it's your generator is not putting the voltage out properly, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. So we'll get a new generator. And I said, well, we better buy a good one because this one's working, but it's obviously not doing it right. So we bought the top of the line Yamaha 7200, best of the best kind of thing. All at the time, it was like $2,800. Get it home. It worked great for the first year. Second year, we used it time to time. It was okay. Third year, nothing worked right. Had to rebuild the carburetor, cleaned it all, the fuel system out, which is normal. Like, okay, like for something that doesn't get used a lot. Then it started having issues with an automatic choke. So the automatic choke was killing the generator, stalling it out, flooding it. I exhausted every mechanical skill I had trying to figure this out. It sat at the dealer this year, midwinter, sat at the dealer for a few months. Now, our dealer's awesome. There's nothing against these guys.
No,
It turned out being bad fuel. 3 or 4 of the connections were broken. Like the wiring wasn't done properly on it. It wasn't grounded properly right from factory. Like this thing has not had a hard life. It only has 30 hours on it, and it let us down midwinter. So midwinter, I had to go to our other house, pull our generator that's been in storage for 5 years out, the Champion, bring it here because I didn't can. So all my stuff's in the freezer, and I needed to not melt. And I have 4 freezers full of product.
He's letting you know that he wants some.
Yeah. So I had to bring the generator out. So there I am. It's -20. We have no power, and I'm cleaning the carburetor on that other one and getting it running. And we got the Champion up and running. It ran for 3 days straight. Never had a problem. So I think Champion products, don't discount them.
Yeah.
You know?
So we have a Champion tiller.
Well, the generator is the first thing.
The first thing we got,
purchased, in the summer of like our first summer, I think it was.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of power outages.
There
It's
was.
only like a 3,500 or
It's pretty
4,000
cheap,
watt or
too.
something like that. We paid like $299 when it was on sale or
Yeah.
something like that. Nothing.
And it's still running. Like
Still
we still
running. Well,
use it.
There's some issues which I'll probably get Rob to help me out with.
But you know
Now it's
that,
brought
so we
up.
have the Champion,
Well, the splitter,
the wood splitter,
wood splitter,
The
and then
tiller.
and the tiller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, this is as you were going through all that
It's
stuff,
true.
I'm going, okay, I need to make a mental note to tell you guys, like, don't discount those because just because it seems like it's this cheaper product, it's just a
Yeah.
Canadian Tire brand,
Yeah.
doesn't make it any better than some of the
No, you
name
really
brands.
have to do your research. And I just went based off Google reviews. What I should have did was ask somebody who actually owned one that you know personally.
That's true.
I looked at sponsored videos on YouTube and Google reviews of this generator before buying it. Little did I know that it was a problem. It's a problematic generator. It's not popular. And the other instance of this is sometimes more money isn't better. Like our other little inverter generator, a suitcase generator.
It's a Walmart one.
It's a Walmart purchased Hyundai generator. I have a video link down there for people that want to see what I'm talking about. But it was $500. It's almost the same specs as what the Honda ones were. But I knew from my previous career, the Honda ones, and from her, the Honda ones blow up.
Yes.
So they if you don't use a specific
It
oil,
has to be a non-foaming oil.
they'll blow up.
They'll blow up.
So after rebuilding a few at my old job at work, because they kept dying on us, because you can't get that oil everywhere. I learned, don't spend the money on the Honda, just buy something different. And that Hyundai has been great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I saved, the Honda at the time was $1,800 and I spent $600. So
And that thing got lugged around halfway across the country multiple times.
a couple times, yeah.
So
One thing that we did with our, if you're out searching for like a generator, a tiller, a wood splitter, you name it, Champion. That one thing that we did is we saved up our Canadian Tire money.
Nice.
Wait
Yeah.
for it to go on sale. Use your Canadian Tire money and save like a ton of money, and it makes it just more that affordable. And that's really the only reason we went that way with the tiller is because
it was on sale. And to be honest, the 3 items, they were just in the right
They were in the
ballpark
right
for us.
price
So
range.
it
Yeah.
didn't matter about names.
That's
I didn't
it.
do any reviews, to be honest.
But I will be doing hopefully a review on the tiller because I don't
Yes,
think I have
we haven't done that one
done
yet.
it. I wanted to get a season in to see if I liked it
Yeah.
first and get to learn a little bit. So I'm gonna do a review on that tiller that I have. And like I said, wait for it to go on sale. Use up that stocked up Canadian Tire money, and you
Everything,
can
yeah.
get it for quite.
We wait for everything to
inexpensive.
go on sale.
Same as that. Yeah, we wait for everything to go on sale, and I think in your budget, you have to be open to willing to try non-name brand companies because, I mean, you're paying for a name, but if you look really hard at the forums and YouTube and whatever, or look at the machine itself, you can see that most of these are probably built in the same place as the other stuff, and you're going to save money.
Your chainsaw was an off-brand too, wasn't it?
Yeah, my Haas Farmer
'Cause you've
chainsaw.
gone
Yeah.
through everything. You've gone through still. You love those.
No.
No way.
I know.
No.
Absolutely. What's the other one?
He's
you
like,
have?
don't talk to me. I
Yeah.
can see that look in his eye. Don't go there.
There's this one time I was pulling on a still long enough that I just said, "That's it," and I just hucked it into the bush.
In all fairness, I think that one was my dad's.
Yeah,
That you don't like.
and it never ran right for him.
No.
It didn't run right for him for 10 years.
So,
Like nobody.
needless to say, tell them about the one.
Yeah,
Or I guess you have a video of it.
yeah. I have videos of the chainsaws, but they're called Haas Farmer Farmer Techs. They're old school chainsaws that a Chinese company bought the rights to are now manufacturing because the new school stuff you can't fix. Like my Yamaha, everything is computer controlled, and there's
Yes.
nothing I can do to fix that. So I bought them, and I bought a Pro Series saw for it cost me $450 from a local guy up here that sells them as a dealer, and he walked me through everything on them and whatever else. And if I would have bought the equivalent Stiller Husqvarna, it would have been $1,200 to $1,500, and the saw does just as well, if not better, I would say.
Wow.
So I think you need to shop around when you're doing it with anything. But I'm just that kind of stuff's big time.
And again, don't be afraid to go used because
Yeah.
you can find some wicked deals on Kijiji and Marketplace. The auctions, the farm auctions,
It's hit and
really
miss.
haven't had very good luck per se. Like they're quite expensive.
There is, yeah. I mean, I got my sickle mower and stuff from farm auctions, but my electric fencer came from a neighbor who found it in the woods, but it's from 1991 and it's the best fencer ever. It's been excellent. It's still in operation, but I've seen the same ones on Kijiji for $20 to $40, where a brand new one is $700.
Yeah.
So you can go used too on some things when you need to.
That's true.
How are the comments, Jay?
Yeah.
There's not too many there. I was just mentioning that. Thank you for the chat, everyone. Love chatting about all this. I was ready to give up the last couple of years, but thanks to great neighbors on going to get back into, or they're going to get back into the swing of things. And don't worry about too much chat. We love chat.
We love chats. Keep going, girl.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I will tell you, this brings me to something because I actually was seeing Bella or Kelly today. It was her birthday, so I dropped a card
Happy
off
birthday
to her.
again.
Yeah, happy birthday.
But she was saying, because I use the black tarp, or I guess it's fabric.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yes.
so I don't really know that it's a tool, but I use that
We
for my
love it.
garden. And so she's wanting to get some. You guys said you were wanting
Yeah,
to
we
get
need some.
I did.
It could technically be considered a tool because you're
The weed
limiting
barrier,
your weed,
Yeah.
needing to weed. But I'm like, that is another actually really good thing because I mean, I don't know about you. Yeah, back in the day, like you're out there weeding and you had all your children helping, but I don't have all that time.
I don't
to be
have
out
all
there
that
weeding.
children.
I don't have all that children either.
We're all
Yeah.
only child
Yeah.
families here.
So I'm like, that is another kind of good investment, I think.
Now,
Like,
if you can't afford that, we used to use just lumber tarps.
yeah.
Oh,
we used
yeah.
to-
Now,
that-
it wasn't the greatest,
So
but
yeah, the
it
lumber
made do with
tarps,
some of
the
things.
rain puddles, right? So
Yeah.
the what is it called?
Tarp
No, the fabric.
fabric.
What is it?
Weed barrier.
The weed barrier
barrier
fabric
would
is
allow the water.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
okay.
allows
Yeah.
it to go through, and it actually keeps the ground under it really moist. So
It must be nice because I had a little snake underneath there. One
oh yeah,
day.
they love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
But I just pull it back every year. I till it and lay it right
Yeah.
back down.
Yeah.
I love it. But it is if you're wanting to go big garden and you don't have the time. I know Kelly next door. She has a lot of weeds and she has more sandy soil than I do, and so she struggles a lot with that. So not only does it kind of absorb the heat of the sun for the root development, it also locks in that moisture.
Okay.
So it kind of does a
Improves
lot.
it, yeah.
It does improve it. So, but when you have a ton of weeds, or if you're have like an area that doesn't already have like an established garden of years of growing in that garden, then a weed barrier is huge because it's so much work.
Mhm.
So I highly recommend it. It is, I'll put it down on the tool list, but it wasn't on the
Yeah.
official
So Dan
list. But
just mentioned that it's called geotextile fabric.
yeah,
There you
because it's
go,
like
yeah.
weaved, right?
Yeah, it's weaves.
So and so you get it's about $300 for 300 feet.
So $1 foot.
It's a
So-
dollar
Yeah.
a foot.
And we've had ours. This is our
We still have a roll
Fourth?
250 feet of it.
third year, fourth or third year.
I want to say possibly fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
2018.
we've
I
been
think.
using the exact same one, and we're still going to use it again this year. Like
Yeah.
it's not wearing out fast. So the investment of like $300 is well used.
Yeah.
It's well served its time.
If you are being really cheap,
Mhm.
the alternative to that is to, when the guys are doing construction on the side of the roads, you can ask them for the leftovers of it because they use it for barriers, just to make
Okay.
sure that like any chemicals or any runoff, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yes,
Well,
those on the
Yeah.
road sides there,
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's the same material. It's just they have it on posts.
and it might only be 3 feet or
Yeah,
4
it's just
feet.
they're only
But still, you put
But still,
some
you
of
could
those together.
ask for it because
Yeah.
they literally just wind it up and it goes in the garbage after that. So if you know anybody who does road construction, they would have that stuff. We also used our totes.
Yeah, our feed totes are really good, but not everybody's gonna be buying feed like us. Like
No, but you can.
our feed totes they're half-ton totes, but they are weaved, and we grew our potatoes. There's a few videos we have on Jenny's TikTok using them, and my garlic's in them right now.
Nice.
But it's a weaved mesh, and it allows moisture
It is
in and out, and they work good. To us, it's free because it's a byproduct of what we farm with. But
You could probably ask other farmers.
yeah,
If you know that they are using totes.
yeah,
It's an alternative too.
Wow.
So yeah, always ways to find things a little bit
Mhm.
Yeah.
cheaper.
Oh, and Dana, what he says there.
This here.
Yeah.
It was so they're in their experience buying a farm auction or auctions is picking up someone else's problems.
Mm.
So I think that was going back to I forget what we were talking about. With,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can, but like the ones that we tend to go to are like.
I've been to a lot of auctions where you go there looking at your items, you research your items beforehand, you get there, and I'd say like 1 in 5 auctions I went to, I managed to get something reasonable at a reasonable price for a reasonable item. And the other 4 times it was like, well, I just wasted my time coming here because it's way too overpriced or the equipment's way too far gone. So he's right.
yeah.
It's hit and miss. It's very much like a lottery. And sometimes people are just crazy on what they bid. Like they bid
Wow.
more than what it's worth new.
Yeah.
Like it just makes sense.
It's kind of like gambling.
Yeah.
You just get excited and they just go a little too
Yeah.
crazy.
Going back to when you were talking about the roadside with those, Bella was saying that her husband had given her some of the filter cloth left over from road construction, and he says it's different, and you would need to layer up. So
Okay,
maybe
yeah.
it's just too thin, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if it was
Because there are like if you go even to Costco or PV Mart and get like landscape
I think
fabric,
that's what I
it's
got.
totally different.
Oh, that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
it's
some
like
of
super
it is
thin.
fabric. Like
Yeah.
legit, it's like almost like felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that.
And
Yeah.
so
That's
so
horrible.
this stuff, so if you go to like a greenhouse or a nursery, like I'm not talking like
PV still
Lowe's
has
or
it,
anything, but like go to an actual just like a on the side of the road greenhouse, they always have this fabric I'm talking
For the
about
most part.
laying
Yeah.
on the ground. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like a thick, it's got like
It's plastic.
the gridded green or yellow lines. It's anyway,
It
it's
is
fantastic.
called a weaved. I forget what it is. It is a weaved fabric, I guess, if you're looking it up online. But PV Mart does have it, but they also still have that
Those other
weird
ones. Oh.
felty fabric version.
Yeah, it's no good. Don't buy that stuff.
No, boy, that's horrible.
We should think of, while we have everybody here, to see what they'd like to hear from us next week
Hmm.
before we wrap up too.
Yeah. Any ideas?
Anything out there in the comments, Jay?
Oh, I'm just.
Okay, you're gonna
ask
put
them,
that out. Yeah.
trying to think of.
I think we should talk next week, just an idea, and we'll see what they say. Now that there's people watching, I'd like to talk a little bit about ways you can bring some income back into the homestead, whether that means
Oh, that's good.
savings on making your own food versus buying it,
I
or
think Dana
savings
mentioned
on.
that a few lives ago, actually.
Okay, yeah,
I'm positive, but
it'd be nice. Like I'd like to share a little bit about what your potential earning, I guess, you can make in the homestead, kind of to make you a little bit extra here and there.
so are you talking about like bringing like finances in the home, or like
Or what you can do
saving
on the
on
homestead.
those finances that are not leaving the home?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. Like
Yeah.
for us, it would be products that help us fund the homestead. I mean, obviously for us, it's going to be our beef and our pork, and then I think there's other things that we save in raising our own chickens versus buying in that meat source from a grocery store. We can talk about that next week. Yeah, gardening
yeah.
could be, for you guys. We'll just see what they say, if that's something that people want to hear, or if they've got something else they'd rather hear from us. But I think that's kind of a good topic, especially now. Like, it's middle of February, everybody's budgets are probably pretty tight, and food prices are just wild. It might be a good thing to talk about, like planning in next year. And it's time to order your chickens soon if you're going to look at chickens and cost benefits.
It's time to start. Some people are starting their seedlings
Yes.
Yeah.
So
already. So
I know
we're
a
at
lot
that
of people
point.
are, but so like peppers and onions, I could start now, or at least in the next few weeks. But
Mhm.
most of my stuff, I wait till April.
So as
So-
Farmer Red last week was mentioning, back to basics as much as possible,
Oh,
from gardens to livestock and especially community. Each individual brings to the table something to elevate the stresses or alleviate the stresses. That was just a comment from last live. That we
somebody did mention though, ways of making money, and I thought it was Dana
Mhm.
had. To be honest, I don't remember. I think that
Could
was
have
a couple
been.
weeks back.
a couple weeks
Yeah, I
ago.
just don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Dan was just mentioned now. I'm always
Yes.
curious about how people can make a living and still farm and homestead full time. I'd love to do it on a larger scale, but money is important.
That's
Mhm.
true.
Yeah, I
We're all
don't.
trying to kind of balance that.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to do anything, especially now. Like, I mean, you can watch Clarkson's farm on TV. He's going to tell you exactly
Oh,
the struggles you run into. Like, trying to do farming is not making you money. But I think homesteading brings its own benefits in, because you're not doing it exactly for the profit. What you're doing to do it is improve your land, get better at your skill set, be a bit self-reliant, and then you're saving money in the terms of groceries. So you're having your own food, your own meat source, you know where it comes from, and you're eating a better quality food while saving you money.
It's your
Yeah.
inputs in general.
Yeah.
And then Bella was mentioning talking about people starting or started to try homestead where they are, even in the big cities.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit in our first one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something else. Sorry, we can discuss
Yeah, I mean,
how to homestead where you are.
where you are, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because when we first learned how to garden, we were in the city. We only had like
Yeah.
a 5x10 little raised bed on the one part of our lawn, and then another 5x10.
and I didn't
Yeah.
have grow
potatoes.
lights
We
and all
didn't have
that. We
grow
just
lights.
stuck things in the windows, growing our tomatoes. And
Yeah.
I
I've
mean,
re-
even now, some places you could have like 3 chickens in your backyard. I don't know
yeah.
what.
Well,
Quail, yeah.
Cows are quiet.
And I think,
That's true.
for us, I'm going to talk. I want to talk about cows, and
I want to hear
You know,
about
I-
cows.
We'll talk about actual livestock.
we'll talk about real livestock that people might be overlooking because they've been told by the media and the YouTube that you can't afford cows, they're too expensive.
See,
Blah
I
blah.
really want to hear. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'd love to just hear what you have to say about cattle and raising them and how to start and which ones to get, like which breeds. And I'm
Yeah.
totally interested in that. So
Yeah, I got the numbers broke down already, so I'd like to talk about that.
So Dana was just commenting on what you were mentioning earlier. All true, but my bank won't take eggs or pork for payments. Laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Oh.
Welcome, Deep's Roots Landscaping.
Hi,
Thanks
Deep
for
Roots
joining
Land.
us.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
They're local to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're down the road from you guys.
Ooh.
there we
Yeah.
go.
That's
Yeah.
even, that's great.
Yeah.
We've got lots of
And
locals
those
on here
guys
tonight.
I want to have on here at some point because
There we
they
go.
are off-gridders.
Very nice.
Okay, we need
Yeah.
to meet you.
Yeah.
We have a lot of locals on here.
Yeah.
Look at that, eh? Yeah, that's good.
Dana was just saying that they would love to have a Dexter for dairy.
Yeah, we had a dairy Dexter cow, and we could talk about that. And we'll have some updates on her this spring, I guess.
No, summer.
Summer when she has her next
Summer
calf.
cows. It's not. We don't have her anymore.
She's
but
just up the road, and her daughter is at the neighbor's so, across the road. So yeah, we don't do milk because Jenny was doing the milking, and she can't drink milk, so we didn't bother. But yeah, Dexters are great, and we have a lot of information on that because we had few years experience using breeding and raising Dexters from start to finish, bulls the whole 9 yards. We know their temperaments, strengths, and weaknesses.
So I think I'm just going to take a few moments to mention a couple things. I think I mentioned it last week, but Brad Plowman's on. Hello, thanks
Hello,
for
Brad
joining
Plowman.
in. So there is an Eastern Ontario conference happening in, what is it, Jenny?
Oh
May?
gosh,
March?
May
March.
6th.
May 6th, yeah.
Okay, so if you have been enjoying these videos and you're interested in homesteading or want to know more, the Eastern Ontario Homesteading Conference is where you need to be because you're going to come across these guys. They're going to be there chatting, and a lot of other homesteading YouTubers are going to be there as well. And they're just going to be sharing their knowledge. There's also going to be ways you can talk to them in person. I think they're going to have booths set up to purchase things, but
Yeah,
That's-
from what she said, there's going to
yeah.
be some vendors. So
there was last year.
There was
Jenny
last
and I
year.
went
Yeah.
last year, but so that's something to check into. You do not have to be a YouTuber to go. So just think about that. There is a small fee, but if you go to the Eastern Ontario Conference Facebook page, you can get all the details there that you need. The other thing I want to mention, I just put out a video today called the Canadian Seed Challenge of 2023.
Oh, is it?
Yes, I put it out. So there's a lot of other YouTubers that have this same video out, and we call it the wish list video. And what it is anybody in Canada can do a video or can comment on my videos, or anyone who does a video. You can try to email us. So what it is, it's essentially a seed exchange. So if you are homesteading and want different varieties of seeds that you might not be able to get somewhere else, or they're out of stock, or you want to try like an old heritage variety you can't get at stores or seed catalogs. So one is we are personally looking for seeds that if you have something to share with us, then yeah, that's where the money's at. No. The summer savory winnow was $90 a kilogram. So
Wow.
growing your own and dehydrating is the way to go. But yeah, so you can send seeds to us, but we are also wanting to send you some seeds. So getting in touch, whether it's your commenting or email, it's a great way. If you live anywhere in Canada, it's a great seed exchange challenge. So I'm hoping that this one's gonna throw out a video soon, Jenny. You need some seeds. Anyways, check it out. This part of homesteading is growing your own food and being a little bit more self-sufficient. So check out those challenges that we have and the other YouTube channels that are doing it, because you can get a ton of different variety of seeds for free just by taking part in a seed
What's the
swap.
hashtag?
I was gonna say it's a hashtag you're gonna search in order to find that.
Yeah, so
right?
it's
okay,
hashtag Canadian Seed Challenge 2023.
there we
That's
go.
what you want to check out. Well, I don't know if that wraps.
I think
things
so.
I think
up.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for joining. We know we're here on YouTube and also we're on their Facebook page and their YouTube channel. It's been a slice. We can't wait to see you again next week here, Thursday at 7 o'clock. So we'll see you then. And remember to bring your comments. I don't really know what we're going to be talking about,
We'll
but
figure it out.
we'll give you a heads up. Check out our pages to see what we're going to be talking about. And bring your comments and your questions and bring them to us because we love having a live chat with
And
you.
if you're not subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit that
Yes.
subscribe button and also the notification bell. And also follow them on Facebook. Just hit their follow
Yes.
button, and they have great content.
And they
on
have a
there, too.
YouTube channel too.
And they also have
Subscribe to
YouTube.
them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Perfect.
awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Have a good
Take
night.
care.